I've received quite a few comments over the last couple of months from numerous people asking if I'll cover the pirate radio scene in New York City. Now, surely you can't expect me to just jump on a plane and travel thousands of miles across the Atlantic. Well, you know I'm not one to let you guys down, so come on, let's go. There's plenty of legal radio to listen to in New York City, from the latest music, the most popular genres, religious and talk stations, but stood on Brooklyn Bridge as the winter daylight began to fade, I found myself looking to the sky, not for the iconic transmitter sites that tower above the city, but for just a glimpse of an antenna of a different kind, a pirate radio antenna. As night falls, especially at weekends, pirate radio stations start to come to life, one by one, from churches, apartment blocks low and high, and from the diverse neighborhoods of southeastern New York City.
104.7 the fire station, a big dial, big thing. Sick the thing, man. Oh, what's with it?
Joint Team 104.7 FM, Monday to Sunday, blazing all night work.
Nice and easy to all my fathers out there.
Yeah, you know.
Time coming up.
The square root of 60.
Nice up the place a little bit.
Right?
Guys, get ready for it.
The London pirate radio scene is fast but very simple. Pirates transmit from tall tower blocks over wide open spaces across the Valley of London. A good antenna and plenty of power enable stations to cover the city, but in New York, things are different. Standing on the bridge looking into Manhattan, I wondered just how many pirates would succeed in reaching the masses, and after talking to the author of the Brooklyn Pirate Radio sound map, I soon realised where the pirate radio hotspots really are. Brooklyn, just over my shoulder, is much flatter than Manhattan. There's less in the way of skyscrapers. It's not perfect for pirate radio, but it's very busy. Over 60 pirates are active on and off across the areas of Borough Park, Flatbush, Crown Heights, Brownsville and East New York. East Flatbush is the current hotbed for pirate radio activity, with around 22 stations on daily. They come on the air usually in the evenings around 6 p.m. and more commonly at weekends.
Yes, my friend, that is who he is this morning. Once again, I want to take the opportunity to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to the Power of Praise broadcast. We're on the air Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then we come back on Sunday from 7 to 9 a.m. and it's from 7 to 9 a.m. and also on Sunday at 9 a.m. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in on on all of the various stations. I want to thank all the folks on Facebook Live. What a wonderful, awesome family.
Another area is Washington Heights in North Manhattan, as well as the Bronx, with 10 or so on the air. There's also a handful of stations around Jamaica and Queens, New York, and Newark and Paterson, New Jersey. They're diverse too, from Caribbean and Latino to Orthodox Jewish stations. There's something for everyone. They blend in alongside New York City's legal FM stations, and while some have been on almost 2 decades, new ones come and go regularly. During the 1980s, there was only a handful of stations on the air, the most famous of them being Radio New York International, a station that broadcast from a ship anchored in international waters off Jones Beach, New York during 1987 and 1988. As numbers seemed to decline in the UK throughout the 1990s and 2000s, in New York City, the pirate population appeared to be increasing, with estimates of at least 100 stations on the air.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
It's Volume Radio, baby. www.teamvolume.com.
The flat landscape crammed with tall buildings somewhat limits the reach of the stations, but this isn't always a bad thing for the close-knit ethnic pockets within the different areas of the city. Perhaps the bigger threat to the pirates is that of the FCC. The last couple of years have seen the FCC deploying new tactics to pursue and shut down pirate stations, targeting the owners and landlords of properties from which illegal stations are being emitted. The frequency of enforcement actions increased during 2022 after the pandemic, in which agents had to cut back on field time chasing signal complaints. The Preventing Illegal Radio Abuse Through Enforcement, or PIRATE Act, signed by President Trump in January 2020, has been an essential tool in the fight against illegal broadcasters. It gives the FCC authority to levy fines of up to $100,000 per violation and up to a staggering $2 million in total. In a recent instance, FCC field agents traced an FM signal to a property in the Cambria Heights area of Queens in New York City. The property owner was given a notice which said, "You are hereby notified and warned that the FCC may issue a fine of up to $2.1 million if, following the response period, we determine that you have continued to permit any individual or entity to engage in pirate radio broadcasting from the property that you own or manage." A similar notice was delivered to a landlord in Yonkers, New York, saying agents from the New York office confirmed by direction finding techniques that radio signals on the frequency 104.5 MHz were emanating from your property at 159 South 13th Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York. Again, the letter indicated that fines of over £2 million could kick in if the broadcast didn't cease. Another letter in July of 2022 went to the owners of a property in the Bronx, where a signal on 105.7 MHz was emanating. In all, FCC action saw the loss of many Brooklyn area pirates in 2022.
DJ by
Team Triple Nine.
Sweet Circus
So that's an overview of the current situation with pirate radio in New York City, and this video wouldn't have been possible without the assistance and insight from a really friendly chap called Dave from the Pirate Radio Sound Map. This website, which I'll link in the description, is an archive project set up to document the pirate radio scene in New York City. It's sponsored in part by the Greater New York Arts Development Fund of the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, administered by Brooklyn Arts Council, and is a site that you need to visit. It features a map of the pirate hotspots in New York City, along with frequencies, station names, as well as audio samples. The website also features a more comprehensive history of pirate radio in the city, with lots of pictures and information to keep you busy. So please head over to this brilliant website, and if you find yourself in New York City like I did, bring an FM radio.
Thousands of people.
Also sending a message out there, man. Let's go, man. You're actually DJ Bob Kid inside right now. 999 HG, baby. Into the afternoon jam time. Big up to all the folks on the guy lock right here in the big nines right now.